Have you ever done everything right? Gone to the gym regularly, cut down on carbohydrates, counted every single calorie, told yourself, "This time I won't give up." And then the familiar happens again. In the first few weeks, the weight goes down. Your body feels lighter. Hope begins to appear. But after some time, everything slows down. You feel more tired. Hunger shows up more and more often. And then, you're right back where you started. Not because you're lazy, not because you lack discipline. In fact, 9 out of 10 people fail in exactly this way. And most of us have fallen into this cycle at least once. Most people believe that failed weight loss comes down to a lack of willpower. But the truth is exactly the opposite. 95% of all diets fail in the long term, not because people are weak, but because the human body is programmed to resist weight loss. Over more than 200,000 years of evolution, our bodies learned how to survive, not how to have a six-pack. When you eat less, your metabolism slows down. Hunger hormones increase. To the brain, food restriction is not losing weight. It is a threat of starvation. Your body doesn't care about summer. It only cares about one thing: survival. And that is exactly why this rule applies. The more you force yourself, the harder your body pulls you back. If the human body always fights against weight loss, why is Japan an exception? Japan is one of the countries with the lowest obesity rates in the world. Only about 4.5% of the population. That number is almost 10 times lower than in the United States. And what's remarkable is this: Japanese people do not avoid carbohydrates. They eat rice, they eat noodles, they eat snacks every day. So where is the secret? Not in their genes. The genes of Japanese and Americans are not significantly different. Not in smoking. In fact, Japanese men smoke more than American men. And certainly not in the gym. Only about 3% of Japanese people have a gym membership. And yet, they stay slim. They keep their weight stable. And they manage what many people struggle with for a lifetime. This reveals an important truth. The problem is not effort. It is the way of living. The Japanese secret is not a stricter diet. It lies in something much deeper: the design of their lifestyle. When you understand this, you will realize losing weight is not a battle of willpower, but a question of how you organize your daily life. Japanese people do not force themselves to eat right. They live in an environment where eating right becomes natural. What you are about to hear are not short-term tricks and not 30-day challenges either. They are scientifically grounded habits that are repeated every day and quietly reprogram your relationship with food. No starving, no living in the gym, just a change in the way you live. Habit 1: training your taste. In Japan, the relationship with food begins very early. In schools, meals are not determined by profit-driven companies, but planned by nutrition professionals. Food is prepared fresh every day. Children eat together in the classroom. There are no vending machines with soft drinks, no heavily processed foods. This is how children grow up with the real taste of food: vegetables, rice, fish, beans, and this becomes their taste benchmark. Meanwhile, in many other countries, industrial foods teach the brain a dependence on sugar from a very early age. But here is the key point: taste is a habit, and habits can be retrained at any age. At first, fresh food often tastes bland, but the brain has an incredible ability to adapt. Just like the first time you drink black coffee: bitter, unpleasant. But after a few times, you begin to notice the real flavor. Each week, replace just one processed food with a real one. Over time, your brain will start craving real food. Habit 2: convenient but healthy. Japan has about 15 times as many convenience stores as the United States. But what's interesting is this: fast food in Japan does not mean hamburgers or fries. It can be a bowl of rice with grilled fish, a bowl of miso soup, or simple tofu. Fast, affordable, and healthy. This reveals an important psychological principle. We do not decide with willpower, we decide through our environment. In psychology, this is called environmental design. You believe you are making a conscious choice, but in reality you choose what is closest, easiest, and most available. Japanese people do not try to resist temptation. They make the healthy choice the default choice. If you want to eat better, don't blame yourself. Change what surrounds you. Habit 3. Painless portion control. Japanese culture places great value on proper measure. There is a concept called harahachi-bu. Eating until you are about 80% full. Food is not piled onto one large plate. Each meal consists of several small bowls: rice, soup, fish, vegetables. The brain sees variety and feels satisfied, even though the actual amount is smaller. No oversized soft drink cups, no unlimited refills. In psychology, this phenomenon is called unit bias. We stop eating when a unit ends, not when the body is truly full. Smaller bowls lead to less food without the feeling of restriction, no deprivation, no starving. Just a different way of serving food. Habit 4. Awareness of sugar. Japanese people consume only about half as much sugar as Americans. A can of soft drink in Japan usually contains only about 150 milliliters. In many other countries, it is 350 milliliters or more. Desserts are small, but they are beautifully presented, and they are enjoyed slowly. This is not about quantity, but about the experience. One study shows if sugar intake is reduced by about 40% for 2 months, sweet foods can taste up to 40% sweeter afterward. Why? Because taste receptors are reset. One very simple change: replace soft drinks with green tea, fewer calories, less stress, and a higher metabolism. Habit 5. A stable eating rhythm. Most Japanese people eat at fixed times. Breakfast usually before 9 a.m., lunch before 1 p.m., dinner before 8 p.m. When eating follows a rhythm, the body's hormones follow a rhythm as well. Mindless snacking, skipping meals, and compensating later, late-night eating. All of this decreases significantly. The opposite is also true. When eating times are chaotic, the brain reaches for whatever is closest, usually the worst option. Predictability is the other half of discipline. Not more control, but more stability. Habit 6. Natural movement. Japanese people do not work out in the traditional sense. They move. They walk to the train station. They take the stairs. They ride bicycles. These small movements are referred to in science as NEAT, non-exercise activity thermogenesis. And the key point is this: small movements repeated every day create big results. No pressure, no force, no feeling of having to exercise. The body moves without feeling punished. That is why they can maintain it for a lifetime, not just for a few months. Habit 7. Eating slowly. Japanese people eat much more slowly, not because they consciously try to, but because their way of eating forces them to slow down. Chopsticks make each bite smaller. Every movement requires attention. Scientifically speaking, the brain needs about 20 minutes to recognize that the body is full. If you eat too fast, you finish before the brain can react. If you eat slowly, you give the brain time to catch up. One simple tip: if you don't use chopsticks, put the spoon or fork down between bites. Breathe. Notice the taste of the food. The result is clear. You eat less and feel better. Habits 8 and 9. Respect for food. In Japan, food is not a side activity. You don't walk while eating. You don't eat while looking at your phone. You don't eat in a rush. A meal is seen as a moment that deserves respect, almost like a small daily ritual. When you eat with full attention, the body begins to communicate with you again. You recognize when you are truly hungry, when it is enough, when you should stop. And this leads to the final habit: listening to your body. The Japanese secret is not a magical diet. It is a way of life, balance, rhythm, respect for the body. When you stop fighting your body and start listening to it, Maintaining your weight is no longer a struggle. It becomes a lifestyle. Now ask yourself this question: which habit will you try first? Write it in the comments. And if you want to continue reprogramming your brain to build sustainable habits, then the next video is the right step for you.